welcome also from our side, the last but not least presentation. Yeah, we are the Openlab Champs. We did a project together with the district of Hässelby-Vällingby, a district in the northwest of Stockholm, regarding refugees and their integration. Maybe, as you see in the title, to reach them out somehow. That's a very multidisciplinary and empathetic team. It's for people at first, Adrienne, let's call it a little bit too social. A family therapist by occupation, studying her master's in psychology, or as she says, the tech dinosaur of a team. Then Kim, a little bit more the quiet, reflective one, studying a master's in political science. Third is Ina, studying a master's in innovation and design and has experience in various product-related fields as a little bit our creative one. And as the last one, me, Lars, exchange student from Germany, studying management and working as a consultant. And to come to the current situation and to understand what Hässelby-Vällingby asked us for. Somehow every social service, the Hässelby-Vällingby district, pays somehow some kind of financial aid to its people in need. And these financial aid seekers, for a big part of them, they are refugees, need to apply every month for the aid. So every month they have their application to get their financial aid, have to hand it in. And for several reasons, they're not really able to do so. And that causes, of course, somehow an additional counseling work for the responsible staff, as well as the citizen office and social worker. And in the end, this process is totally broken. The current situation itself causes frustration at the aid seekers and also at the workers. For the workers, it consumes also a lot of resources needed for other support, other counseling, and so on. And on and on, it's of course no successful integration in Swedish society. And therefore, Hässelby-Vällingby Citizen Office asked us to how to reach clients through digital tools in district. And so there, as you see, we were in the beginning very much on a digital track, but maybe it evolved a little bit. And yeah, a very also central question would be, why is this challenge of all important? Why is it an important issue? Because you could easily think, okay, it's inefficient for some workers, frustrating for a few hundred people in district, but overall, it's maybe not a big deal, frustrative work, everybody of us knows it. But in the end, it's part of a very big problem, because ineffective integration policy could cost Sweden an annual GDP growth of about 1%. So we're not talking about only a few people, we're talking about a very large problem on a large scale. And where does this come from? There are two sides. On the one side, we have operational effects like these super extensive support effort. I mean, what you saw with the just dotted line is in reality consulting 20% of the clients with only one of many of their tasks, and that expands for up to 30% of the whole consulting time. But the other side are social economic effects, because in the end, failed integration, loneliness, has similar effects as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, regarding associated with increased risk for strokes, cardiopulmonary disease, mental health issues, and also utilization of emergency medical services. And not to forget also somehow trickle-down effects to further generations regarding integration, language, education, and in the end also career opportunities and occupation. So in the end, it's totally clear for us, somehow an active integration process, active integration activities are very much needed.
Yes, due to the transition into digitalizing the social services, Hässelby-Vällingby wanted to be prepared for this and to also work against a possible exclusion for some of their citizens. The people who keep returning to the citizen office with the same type of questions month after month for years are mostly female refugee immigrants in the age of 40 plus and older, who in many cases don't even have a computer at home, making it even harder to apply independently online. Our project had difficulties in meeting these women, and this was due to the respect of their integrity, but also, of course, due to the COVID-19 restrictions. The Neighborhood Moms, Stadsdelsmammorna, is a successful project in which former financial aid applicants, who also are female immigrants, now work part-time at the citizen office, supporting the citizen office in reaching out and helping the newly arrived refugee immigrants in need of extra support. So we decided to talk to the neighborhood moms and use them as a proxy to gain insights about the client's situations and needs. So the key findings we found out, I will explain as follows. Now, imagine you were forced to move to China due to war in your country. And during this move, you have been separated from your spouse and are alone with your children. You're expected to learn fluent Chinese, Mandarin, after 2 years, and then to become independent and find a job in China. You're expected to be able to communicate in writing and reading in Chinese. Culture. You have difficulties understanding their system. Motivation. You think that you will be able to move back to your home country as soon as the war is over. Healthcare. You are deeply depressed and worried about your family members here and back in your country. And now, would you feel comfortable filling out forms in Chinese without support online? Each month, you have to do this to be able to receive financial aid covering housing and food for you and your family. Add to all this, some of these people are analphabetics. So all these findings resulted in the team's point of view. How might Hässelby-Vällingby Stad create an inspiring and motivational environment for refugee women in Hässelby-Vällingby that empowers a mutual learning and growth process with the goal of becoming independent?
And as Adrienne mentioned, we reached our POV, which focused on empowerment and making the women independent. And to do this, we presented 4 concepts to the challenge givers, which you'll find in our report. And but these 4 concepts did not eventually move forward. And this was through discussions with our challenge givers. We're getting feedback from our fellow students, our group, and different stakeholders within the project process. And within this process, we empathized, we prototyped, we tested, and we ideated. And we landed on the community hub. And this would be the best solution for the women in Hässelby-Vällingby who needed the support from financial aid services and the social welfare services within Hässelby. And the community hub was the idea to create a place where these immigrant women would come together to connect, share, and learn. Next. And in order for this community hub to be successful, we developed 5 guiding principles to set the foundation for sort of this process. The first principle would be inclusion, and this meant that we would be open and inclusive of everybody, regardless of their politics and religion. Then the second one was mentorship. This would mean that all users or users who are in the community hub at the beginning stage would integrate the new ones from the community who needed support within this community hub. The third one would be co-creation, and this would be users and the staff and the different stakeholders creating meaning and the foundation of the community hub together. The fourth one was sustainable growth, and this meant that we wanted the community hub not to be a flood of all these different members of the target group coming in at once, but rather slowly introducing new members at a time in order to be able to facilitate a strong core for the hub so that all these different facilities and everything that's needed there is properly established. And finally, the fifth one is habit formation. This means we wanted that this hub should be able to allow the target group to create and form habits that allow them to outgrow the hub so that it can give opportunities for new ones to come in and therefore create sustainability, which was the previous guiding principle in order for this hub to be functional and successful. Thanks. And as we have these guiding principles in the beginning to create this hub, we thought that we needed elements that would support these principles. And the 4 elements that we felt would create maximum value for the hub would be facilitation, learning, offerings, and physical space. In facilitation, in this area, we look at the facilitators. This means the neighborhood moms who were one of the stakeholders we worked with. The citizens office was another one stakeholder we worked with, as well as the social work and welfare office, who are the challenge givers and the main sort of distributors. And we felt that their ability to facilitate and them being able to sort of provide these services was critical. Then we thought matchmaking was important as well. And this would also in turn connect to the mentorship, whereby matchmaking is where you connect different target group members who may support each other in different activities. A schedule that works for everybody, opening hours and access that are suitable for everybody that accesses the hub. Then we had learning, and learning, we wanted it to be an inclusive again, which also connects to guiding principles. We want a growth mindset, co-creation, and habit building. So we want a system and a learning system that's all about developing and becoming more empowered. Then the offerings, which is also very critical, we wanted it to be close. So proximity, it has to be close to the target group for them to be able to access it. We want diverse areas where they can learn, they can have access to IT, they can communicate to the different facilitators, they can get support in making different applications and stuff. And lighting an atmosphere, which is naturally critical so that they feel welcomed and feel comfortable being in the area. Modularity, which is the different stuff that goes on in there. Wi-Fi and digital services, which is critical as we want to get them into the more empowered stage where they can do these things for themselves, such as applying for financial aid, which is the most critical part of our challenge here, and foods and drinks, because you need to be able to have people meeting their basic needs while they're here, and so that they feel comfortable and welcomed as well. And finally, a physical space where they're able to network, as we connect it again to matchmaking, to the facilitators, and to the sustainable growth and to the mentorship stuff, and which creates a sustainable community growth eventually. And these 4 key elements will be successful. And now Ina, my team member, will present the guidebook that will make this possible.
Yes, thank you very much, Kim, for a really nice introduction of the key issues or the key concept that we came up with in our community hub solution for Hässelby-Vällingby, but also obviously and hopefully in a bigger scale for other communes in Stockholm or even Sweden or even in other countries in the world, since we all know that it's not just Hässelby-Vällingby that faces this challenge. So we thought that we have created a really nice concept that definitely deserves to be tried out in the real world. So we thought, okay, we collected a lot of information and we made sense to all of it and gave it a storyline and gave it a sense behind all of it. And we thought, okay, how do we get this information to people that can actually make this happen in the real world, since this was not in the scope of our project? So we thought we can put all of our nicely and thoroughly collected information and put it into a project handbook. And this is what you can see here on the slide. That is, so to say, the outcome of our project. And this is a digital handbook in the format of a digital PDF document that everybody that will get the link can access. And obviously it can also be shared around. And this handbook gives an insight and gives a step-by-step introduction to our concept. So it covers the different elements that Kim introduced to us before, such as the roles and facilitation, talks about how the community hub can be run, but also cost structure and what lies behind of it, and as well as offers and services, for example, that can be offered in such a community hub. Also guiding principles that we already heard, and also a little bit about the space and how the space can be designed and arranged in order to fit the needs of the people. And last but not least, you can see a glimpse of it here in the left bottom corner. There is also a step-by-step guide that helps whoever is reading that booklet and wants to make this community hub a real thing in the real world can follow in order to create it and make it happen. Next slide, please. Yes, so that brings us to the question, why do we want to make this happen? So this is pretty easy. There's 3 elements to it. The first one is because the community hub is superior. It creates an inspiring and motivational atmosphere that fosters intrinsic motivation of the people and empowers them to work on their problems. Second, it's because it's significant, because we have heard that also in the very beginning from Lars, that failed refugee integration causes high operational costs within Hässelby-Vällingby, but also obviously other districts, and has or can lead to negative socio-economical effects for the whole society. And then last but not least, also it is sustainable, because with our concept, we utilize subsidized forms of employment, and also we empower refugees in the long term. So it's not just something that happens right now, but it's more of a long-term effect. And the hub is therefore a sustainable form for social and economical perspective. Yes, and so now to wrap it up, we have here a link where you can access our guidebook. So there is one that Adrienne posted in the chat, so you can either just click on the link there, or you can use the Scan Me QR code here on the slide. And with that, you will have access to our handbook. And we really hope that you will have a look at it and test it and share it. And yes, we hope that we can therefore create the future together with also the refugee women and all the other people that need our help in order to be part of the society.